There are times in the God powered life where God takes you to a place where you're out of your depth, you're over your head. Now, ultimately, that is a fantastic place. It's amazing because that's when God shows up. That's when we obviously are truly reliant on Him. But it can also create so much uncertainty that did we miss it somewhere? Are we doing things right? A great example. Years ago, I was working with this church and we were purchasing a large retail facility that would become their future home. Biggest thing they'd ever done. And it required a significant non-refundable deposit. If anything went wrong, they were going to lose that. And we ran into every roadblock imaginable. The moments when the leadership is legitimately asking, are we supposed to proceed? Maybe God's not in it. What do we do? So what did we do? Those are the times when you pull out your trophies. The whole point of God Powered is that we would learn to trust Him more, that we would learn to rely on Him to a greater degree, so that we would see the Lord God Almighty do the unbelievable, do the amazing, that He would accomplish and perform things we could never accomplish in our strength, that we would live out His principles and see His power at work through us, that we would do and be all that He has for us to be, that we wouldn't settle for the ordinary, we wouldn't settle for second best. But in doing so, we will be challenged. And there do come moments when we need to dust off the trophies. Now, what do I mean? So, what did we see in the Old Testament? We saw that whenever there was a significant moment with God, they would make a memorial of stones. They would have a physical trophy, a physical reminder of that encounter with God, what He did, what He said, what He accomplished. We see that so often. When Jacob spoke with God and God made the amazing promises, he made a memorial right there. When God's people crossed the River Jordan on dry land, didn't even get their feet wet, what did they do? They carried up from the river 12 stones and piled them, made a memorial. It was a physical indication, a physical reminder of what amazing thing God had done. And we should have memorials in our life. Now, on a side note, a guy named Henry Blackaby wrote a book called Experiencing God, and he talks about the memorials in our life of those significant things God has done and the importance of them. But we're looking at building our faith, and there are those moments when you are out of your depth, when you know you can't do it yourself. And what do we see? Now, David. So he's going to confront Goliath, and he's standing before Saul. Now, and again, Goliath, 9 feet tall, David, just a youth. And what happens? Saul says, you can't do this. See, one of the issues is when we're at that place, it's not just we have to potentially battle our own insecurities, our own doubts. But on top of that, it tends to have that pile-on effect of other people going, oh, don't go there, don't do that. And effectively, that's what Saul's doing to David. He's saying, he's a trained warrior in big, and you're just a youth. What does David do? How does he respond? You notice he doesn't respond by saying how amazing he is. How does he respond? He says, as a shepherd, there are times when a lion and a bear have come and attacked the sheep. They're in my custody. They're in my care. And I went and fought them. But notice he's not saying it in his strength. And he says, and God delivered them into my hand. God gave me the victory. God helped me overcome them. See, he recounted the times when he had to take action. But it had to be God at work, because how's he going to handle a lion? How's he going to handle a bear? And one of the things we recognize is the faith challenges that God takes us to. This is why so often people settle for the ordinary, because that faith challenge you had last time is easy compared to the one that's coming up. Why? That is so we both grow in our faith and we do learn to rely on him even more. So David recounted, he pulled off the trophies of the shelf of his life, the moments when God had moved on his behalf, when God had given him the victory over the lion, over the bear. And so his automatic natural progression is, and God will deliver Goliath, this giant, this challenge, this problem, whatever it is. God has already done this and this and this. He will continue and he'll deliver this into my hand. We need those memorials. We need those victories. We need those trophies, not of what we've accomplished. Those trophies, literally a few weeks ago, I went through a box of old trophies and they all went in the bin. Why? Those aren't the trophies that mean something. The trophies that are meaningful are the things that God has done in your life. Those memorials, those reminders of what God has done. Back to this church. So what did we do? Well, again, this was not just the biggest thing they'd ever done, both physical size, it was massive, but on top of that, the faith stretch that it required. It took them so far out of their comfort zone, and we did run into obstacle after roadblock. And the leadership, especially the pastor, I mean, these are the moments you're losing sleep, the moments when you're staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. Why? There was a large, significant, non-refundable deposit that if he felt the pressure, that if he was making the wrong decision, it was going to cost the church. And there came that moment when he actually said to me, Randy, if this doesn't work, my son and I may work the rest of our lives to repay this to the church. He had that much of a sense of responsibility, which is a good thing. But then what do? We pulled out the trophies of the things that God had done, both historically for them as a church and in the process, where God had given us the victories. As we recounted those, faith built. And in the end, what happened? Well, every obstacle eventually was overcome, and it became so much more of a blessing than it was ever imagined in the beginning. See, that perseverance in faith led to an amazing victory. It led to an amazing blessing. And what gave them the strength to continue on when it was roadblock after roadblock? Remembering the trophies, remembering the amazing things God had done for them, both in the process already and throughout the life of that church. See, we want to be in a situation, our natural desire is that, oh, well, the Lord God of the universe, he'll go before us, everything will be easy. But see, that doesn't stretch our faith. And if we're going to live the God-powered life, we have to allow him to take us to that next faith challenge when that uncertainty may creep up, but we are learning to rely on him. Why? Because those are the moments when he gets all the credit. There's no way we get any credit for what happens. He gets all the credit, and it is so much better than what we could have accomplished on our own.